What's up guys, Ramsey here back for another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we have the top 10 of the best Void Epic in the game for 2025. Let's get into it. So I'll be showing you in this video the 10 best Void Epic for 2025 in my opinion. Again, I've been playing the game for 6 years now and I do have a fair amount of experience. If you disagree or you think I'm missing some champions, of course leave them in the comments. This list is extremely hard to do, obviously. I'm going to give you 10, but there are a lot more champions that could be in that top 10. Obviously, it's always that way when we do some type of like tier list and whatnot. So let's get into it. What I'm looking for personally when to find out if a champion is good or not is either is extremely good in one area of the game and in just that one area of the game, but he's like top tier, or is extremely versatile and you can use him in a lot of areas in the game. And that's how I define if he's a good champion or not. So first one, we are going to start with Ursala. We'll be going over the kit of each champions really quickly. And in the next video, I will be doing a very similar ranking with all the epics in the game, not only the Void epic. So Ursala is extremely good. Here she can decrease the turn meter of the enemy. That's not what we want her for, but this ability is extremely unique. Attack all enemies, 100% chance of placing decrease attack and increase attack on all allies. So this is a very good ability that I don't know that many champions have in the game. So because it's so unique, it's extremely good. And then she also has a revive here on all allies with 75% HP. Turn into field by 50%, increase defense and strengthen for 3 turns on all allies. So that revive is amazing. Pretty long cooldown, 5 turns, but it is a really, really good ability. And that is why she's the first one in this list. Then, Sacred Order, we have 2 champions. Inquisitor Shamel, extremely good in Hydra, and extremely good in the current dungeon event. We have an event right now with a dungeon for another 2 months, and the boss places a fear. And basically what that champion does, whether it's against this boss or against Hydra, against the blue head, basically when there's a fear placed, it will remove all the fear and boost the turn meter of all allies, which is extremely good. For Hydra, some of the biggest teams, even in nightmare level, are with this champion, and same for this dungeon. A lot of players are using him. So very unique to Hydra and this new dungeon. So very niche use cases, but extremely good for that. The other champion from that faction that's extremely good is Godseeker Aniri. She's going to be healing on this A1. Here she's going to attack all enemies, heal all allies, 15% of their max HP, then decrease the duration of all buff on all enemies and the duration of all buff on all, and increase the duration of all buff on all allies. This ability is extremely good as well. AoE attack, we're going to manipulate the turn on the buff from ourselves and from the enemy, and we will be healing as well. Extremely good. And here she can revive a dead ally with 50% HP, then fill the turn meter by 50% and reset the cooldown of all of this skill. So, and here she has a really good passive as well. Increase the amount of healing. If an ally is about to get killed by a fellow hit, preempt that hit and instantly place revive on death buff on them for 1 turn, the damage taken. So I love her so much because I personally use her still in my, again, I'm on the test server today, but on my account, I use it on the Sand Devil Necropolis, level 25. I have a similar team than this one, but instead of Kimar, for example, I have Godseeker Aniri. I don't know where she's at here. But basically, I don't see her. Maybe she's here somewhere. Basically, I let the boss kill one of my Newt, and then she instantly revived them, and we can revive one of them, and we can kill the boss. So even at endgame level, we do use her in some areas of the game, and that is why she's still extremely good. Then number 4 and 5, we have 2 of them. Maneater, very old champion now, but he's probably the number 1 or number 2 sought after Void Epic, just because we can do unkillable teams for Clan Boss. Why is he so good? We have a lot of epic and legendaries that do place either unkillable or block damage, but they do not place the block debuff as well. And that is why this champion is so good, because with the block debuff, we can completely ignore the fact that the clan boss is going to stun one of the ally. And that's the issue with block debuff and the other champions, is that they don't have that, with the other champion who is unkillable, they don't have that block debuff. Therefore, we do get stunned, and it's a lot harder to sync the team to make sure we are unkillable for the whole 50 turn against the clan boss. And this is why Man-Eater is so unique and he's so good. If you have one of him, you can do a team. If you have two, even better. That's what I still use nowadays for the past 5 years. That's the team I've been using, is with two Man-Eater in the team and then some reset ability champion and a DPS champion. So Man-Eater still one of the best, very unique again, but extremely good. The other one from this faction is Shrink. I think this ability is amazing. So Shrink, maybe you will disagree with me and you will replace him by another champion, but this ability, attack all enemies, 100% chance of placing HP burn, 3 turn cooldown, that is why it's so good on him. But he's also going to feel this champion thermometer by 15 if at least one enemy is hit with a critical hit. So you can use him simply for just for the HP burn for Spider, which is great for your progression if you're a mid game or early game player. But then you can also build him for Hydra, just because he's going to be putting a good amount of damage with the HP burn, and he brings a weaken on his A1. So you could build him full damage and accuracy for Hydra, or just accuracy with the HP burn for Spider. But this ability is extremely good for a lot of areas in the game, specifically Spider and Hydra. Lizardman, I don't think there's anyone here. Skinwalker. I do really like Basher. Again, that's a very niche champion, so it's not gonna be for everyone, especially that most of you guys watching this video, while you're watching this video, there's probably still an event for free legendary champion, Alice Chase. So you would be getting that champion. Again, I have a full guide on her on the channel. She does something very similar to Basher, but better. Better because she's a legendary champion and she's free, which is great. But if you do not have her because you missed the event, because you started playing after, or you took a break for a while or whatever, Basher is very unique. And that's why, again, I judge how good a champion is based on how good he is, if he's good everywhere or if he's extremely good in one area of the game. And his A2 is extremely unique. He's the only epic who does that. Attack all enemy, increase the cooldown of all targets skills by 2 turns. This is very arena specific. Even endgame level, at my level in arena, I still see people use him sometimes to time. So you do want, if you have him, keep him. You may not need to use him right away, but eventually it could come in very handy in one of your arena team, especially if you don't pull one of the legendary champions that do similar things. There are 3 legendary champions, I believe, that do something similar. 2 of them are void legendary, so you won't be getting them anytime soon. If you already have them, good for you. I don't have any of them. And then the third one is Alice, that is given for free, that I just showed you. So a very limited champion that can do that. So do keep that in mind if you get Basher. Next up, we have Seer. So Seer, like I said, with Man-Eater, the first or second most wanted Void Epic. Seer is the first or second. I'm not sure. Depends on your account. But Seer is still nowadays one of the best, best champion in the game overall, just because of that A3. Basically, this is what you use for speed farm. You're going to be putting a bunch of buff on your team and then put defense down on the enemy. She's going to consume basically all the buff and do a ton of damage, and that's how you one-shot waves of enemy, even ultra endgame, whatever endgame content. You build her with damage. You don't need accuracy on her unless you have a very high resist team, whatever that place buff on themselves. but technically you don't need accuracy on her, just full damage, and she will do a ton of damage one-shotting any wave in front of you, even in the most endgame content. So Seer, a lot of people want her. Most players should have her because she's amazing, and you will be using her. The only thing is you want to pair her with a reset champion, possibly, that's going to reset her A3, like a Kimar, for example. You have Yumeko you can use. You also have some rare options, but then you also want to pair her with someone who's going to be putting a lot of buff on the team. That's why we often play her with someone that is geared with a shield set, for example. That way, when you start the battle, you already have a shield buff, and that's an extra buff that will help dealing extra damage. So very, very good champion, obviously. Next champion, I don't know that everybody's gonna agree with me, but since the pinpoint set is in the game, Madame Cerise is back to being amazing. So Madame Cerise for a very long time was considered the #1 champion in the game for Arena because of that A3, where she would basically remove all the buff and place, we don't really care about the increased attack, but place the increased defense. So for a very long time, she was #1 champion in the game. Then Stone Skin came up, which then she only has 50% chance of removing all the buff. And then the sheep came up. So with the sheep, when she's trying to place that decreased defense, she would obviously get sheeped and not place the decreased defense. Now with the new pinpoint set, which is again through the event dungeon, pinpoint right here, this is the second season where we have that type of event where we can farm the pinpoint. Now she's back to being amazing. We don't use her in Ultra Endgame Arena again because of Stone Skin, but if even you could play Gold 5 with her just fine in Arena, and she would still do great because she would have 50% chance of removing the Stone Skin and then placing the decreased defense. So still very good, one of the best in Arena, but she does need that pinpoint set specifically for Arena. Right, next up, we have a new epic that just came out a few weeks ago. She was part of the Mad Hatter fusion, so we had to obviously, level her up and use her to get the legendary champion. But I do think she has a really good kit. A1, she's just going to attack an enemy and heal the ally with the lowest HP. On her A2, so that's why I kind of like her. On her A2, she's going to place increased defense and increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. So that also is very unique. Not a lot of champions can do that. There's one legendary that I can think of and one other epic that I can think of. And that's on a 3-turn cooldown right here, which is really good. Why this is so good, especially for Hydra, I really like it for Hydra because a lot of the time in Hydra, we're going to be playing with champions that have their damage based on defense and attack. You usually have a mix of both. And that is why that's why it's so good for Hydra, because you get both in one ability. So you're helping the entire team, obviously staying alive and doing more damage for, champion based on, that have their damage based on attack, and the champions that have their damage based on defense. So that is why this ability is extremely good on an epic, but also the passive, revive an ally with 25% HP and 100% turn meter. Also plays a block damage buff on that ally for 2 turns. Who dies a lot in Hydra? Who dies first in Hydra? It's usually the damage dealers. And the damage dealers, obviously, if you revive one of them and he's back with 100% turn meter, that's extremely good because we can instantly start putting out damage again. That's why that passive is so good. And then whenever this champion revive an ally, decrease the cooldown of one of this champion's skill by 1 turn. So very, very good kit on this champion, and that is why she's a new champion. She hasn't been tested very much yet, but just from the kit, I do think she's extremely good specifically for Hydra. Again, all of those champions, if you're early, mid-game, you can kind of use them a little bit everywhere, other than a few that are very specific to Arena. The rest, you can kind of use them everywhere. But when I'm reading the kit, I'm kind of giving you directions to where they would be best used. Next up, we have the dwarves Demetha. So Demetha is extremely good as well. A lot of people looking for her. Attack enemy 2 times, hit, places a shield buff for 2 turns equal to 10% of this champion max HP on the ally with the lowest HP, except this champion. Nothing crazy here, just a nice little HP boost, shield boost, sorry. Now the A2 and A3, that's why she's so good. On the A2, increase the duration of all ally buff by 1 turn, then decrease the duration of all ally debuff by 1 turn. So, you know, buff, we extend them on us, debuff on us, we reduce them. Then also heals all allies by 2.5% of their max HP, heals by a further 2.5% max HP for each turn added to or removed from the duration of buff and debuff by this skill. So obviously we'll be getting a lot more heals if we have buff or debuff on us. So this is a really good ability. And then on her A3, place a block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn and a 15% continuous heal buff on allies for 2 turns, booked to a 3-turn cooldown. And that's why it's so good, because you can have it, because it's on a 3-turn cooldown, you can actually use her in a lot of team for clan boss, and she's very easy to use. Unlike some legendaries, you have a lot of legendaries for clan boss here that do very similar things with the block damage, but they are on a 4-turn cooldown. She has it on a 3-turn cooldown, and that is why it's so good, and that is why she's used a lot. If you don't have a man-eater, or you want a team that does more damage than the team with man-eater, your next pick will be the Mytha. Also, what she does with her A2, the extension of buff, is really good on Chimera. The very first video I've done on Chimera, it was in French, but my very first test was using her and using a strategy with a lot of buff extender champion. So she was extremely good with Chimera because we had that buff extension, but also the block damage and the continuous heal and the heal itself. So extremely good for all those clan boss areas of the game. I believe that's it, guys. I believe that's 10 champions. I hope it is. Again, you have a lot of other good champions in the game, whether it's Void or not. A lot of really good damage dealer. I didn't mention specifically the damage dealer, but you do have a lot of good Void damage dealer. Just to show you a few examples, you obviously have Gala right here, really good in terms of damage. You have as well Gembo right here, really good in terms of damage dealer. Oboro is really good for Hydra specifically. You do have a lot of other champions. I do believe, where is she? Whisper, extremely good in higher level when you have better gear for her. Really good for damage. Skullcrown, extremely good with damage as well. So there you go. I didn't mention specifically damage dealer, but they are there, and there are a lot of good damage dealer in terms of epic Void. That's it for the video, guys. Again, I just switched my channel from French to English. So any support from you, like, comments, watching the videos until the end will help me a lot, just to make the algorithm understand that the language changed on the channel and that I want my videos pushed to more English speaking countries. So thank you for the help. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.